So here we are in my hotel lobby. It's kind of different. It's a unique environment, pretty shiny and new. So here's the
Professor
boulevard.
Pete here.
This
Still
is
don't
in
have a really
downtown
cool
Dubai.
introduction.
I think this
We've
would be
been
an awesome
doing all my
spot
lectures
for a
in
chase scene.
the comforts of my living room. This is an environment.
Behind me is the
It's somewhat
Dubai
engaging,
Mall.
but I'm sure it's getting kind of
And
boring.
then
So I
the,
thought I'd share a
world's
little bit
largest
about this
fountain
class
behind me
in
as
a
well.
different environment.
So I think this would be a great backdrop to a romantic comedy, I think.
And so there you have it. Environment is so important. It makes things very interesting and engaging, or it can make it very boring or just normal, like this background you've been seeing for weeks on end. So let's have a look at some backgrounds. Everyone knows I'm on social media. You could just search my name and you'll find all sorts of stuff. So my life is pretty transparent. Pixade.com, Pixade, anything, everywhere. I've been able to capture that 6-character word into my own brand. I don't sell Pixade shirts yet, but I probably should. I don't know if anyone would buy any of those shirts. But if you go on Instagram, you'll see my stuff. I mostly just post pictures of my travels. But anyway, on the topic of things, we are looking at an Instagram post. I don't know who this person is. I don't follow them at all. But I thought it was a really interesting image. Yes, she's got this really flowing dress and everything. It tells a story, though, right? It's just a picture. But the environment is what really sells it. Now, if she was in New York City and there was some taxis driving by, it'd be maybe a reference to Marilyn Monroe. But here she is in this very, very wonderful clear water landscape trail, we'll say, although there's an electrical pole in the background. This picture does say a lot. And with social media, you can say a lot with your environment. All right. To me, it says, I have free time and I like to go and see pretty things. This is where I work. And a lot of times, when I show slides, I like to show where I work because this is an $80 million building. This is the University of Iowa, where I used to work. It's incredible. 5 floors. There's a green roof, so it's state of the art. Just got built 3 or 4 years ago and is designed by Stephen Hall, who's a famous American architect. Now, going about environment design, I'm going to show a bunch of different examples, okay? The way we perceive things and the way things are, and then other examples of location and how it plays a part in everyday life. So here's San Francisco, Full House. I grew up watching this. There's the Fair Ladies, the buildings on the right-hand side. It's supposed to represent San Francisco in the Victorian era, this wonderful place, family and all this other fun stuff. But this is what it's really like. It is a bustling city, and there's a ton of homeless people. So there's probably the same thing you could say about even Las Vegas, right? Las Vegas, all these big cities have lots of wonderful things, but then there's also a darker side to a lot of these cities too. So that's all I'm trying to say. And then here's me when back in my college days. Look at that phone. First off, it's crazy that I'm using a flip phone, but secondly, that was like the best phone that was out at the time. And then there's the San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge in the background. Here is a shot from Sri Lanka. This is when there was a bombing or a shooting. I can't remember exactly, but if this is the only representation of what you would think of Sri Lanka, then it's kind of a scary place. And this is a very religious site. It's a Catholic site. And when I was there, there's a lot of actually really interesting things in Sri Lanka. So from Colombo, I went over and visited some older cities. And here is a painted cave. Got to see some elephants going around. So my perception of Sri Lanka is going to be very different than what someone may get when they watch the news. When we look at Hollywood movies, we're always trying to be in a different place. So, of course, these action films like James Bond or Mission Impossible, you're going to a different place. And so here is Big Ben in the background. Here is Mission Impossible and the Burj Khalifa of Dubai. Again, it's a really magical, interesting place. We're bringing people into that otherness, right? So imagine, okay, instead of this giant world's tallest building, 160 stories or whatever, we're in a 2-story building in San Francisco, one of those Victorian buildings from Full House, and there is Tom Cruise climbing up this house, 30 feet in the sky, and right, it doesn't have the same type of impact. Here's Abu Dhabi, the Moab Desert, where they shot the Star Wars movie. Again, another really wonderful place. I mean, the chances of us going there, pretty unlikely, somewhat unlikely. maybe we can get there. It's about 3 hours or 4 hours from Dubai, so it may be possible to get there. And it's a really cool place. For most people, it's gonna be tough to get to a sand dune, right? But anyways, we are brought to this other world in this sense, and it really helps play a part in these series of films. This is Prince Edward Island, where they have this famous book, Anne of Green Gables. If you ever a chance, this is one of the books that I grew up having to be exposed to. I can't remember if I read it, but it's about a girl who lives in this remote part of eastern Canada. And look at this, it's beautiful. Grass, sand, lighthouses. It's a magical place, pretty hard to get to, so it works as a great environment. We see a lot of these movies, more action movies, big city. This is a lot of America is built in post World War II, 1960s Chicago, especially. So this is Chicago, even though it's probably set in New York City, logistically, right? New York City is one of the biggest cities in the world, so shutting down a bunch of streets for a movie is going to be really expensive. So Chicago is a second alternative. A lot like Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, is a lot of places is shot there. I remember Resident Evil, we were just driving down and I saw all these burnt cars on the side of the road. Again, they were just set pieces for the movie. So again, think about story, okay? Now, these are actual things, like the Titanic, okay? Imagine if the Titanic wasn't out in the middle of the ocean when it was freezing out. Imagine if it was just off the shore, off a coast of somewhere, really nearby. It may have not been so tragic, but the tragedy of it is the fact that it's just in the middle of nowhere. And yes, you added the fact that there weren't enough boats to get. And I mean, in actuality, a sinking ship of this size, it's tough. And then, of course, Game of Thrones, the Night Walkers. Again, if they were from Jamaica, all right, will they have the same type of scariness and magic to them? Probably not, right? So think about these things. When you're thinking about where your characters are from, how does that environment really help? It could aid in the story, or it could add more impact and more emotion to it. And so this is one of the places I really want to go to, the backdrop of Pinocchio. So if you know the story of Pinocchio, it's actually from an Italian, but it's set in this German town. So the German town is Rottenburg. I really want to go there just for the fact that the roofs are just kind of this fairy tale feeling to it, and it just looks really, really impressive with exposed timber on this really cute German town. So they see there's no cars, and that's just so medieval and so nice to see. Other really awesome environments, Akira, right? Wonderful, wonderful kind of tech, super electric kind of city. So Tokyo is a natural fit. Here's Tokyo, but with all of the normal cars with 4 wheels. This is Akihabara, one of the major toy sections for manga, anime, all that fun stuff. I love hanging out there. Lion King, again, the title kind of says it all. I mean, we're also going to see lions than Africa, I guess. This is specifically in Kenya. And when I was in Kenya, this is the part of what I saw. I went to some elementary schools and some NGOs showed me their educational system. So it's just, look at this. There's a bunch of 4 or 5-year-olds stuck up in a room, and they're all wearing these heavy coats. It's not as hot as you would think. And here's another side of Kenya, Nairobi. Again, Lion King is based on of Kenya, right? Because of the Swahili. They're speaking Swahili in it. And like Hakuna Matata, that is Swahili. So that's another thing. Like, you're not going to see in Lion King a bunch of trash. But you may see some of this, right? So I did go to some game parks, and there's looks like a soccer field that's been overrun by these funny monkeys. And another side of Kenya, and this is what ends up happening in the story with Simba and his father and the stampede. Prince of Egypt, another really interesting place, great backdrop, and this is just a picture I took in the south of Cairo, in a place called Luxor. You figure, okay, Cairo has the pyramids, but no, you have to travel quite a bit away just to see these kind of ruins. So this is pretty interesting. A lot of times, right, in films, they cut from one location to the next. You think it's in the same city, that it's just a quick walk, but in fact, this was a good 1 hour flight to get to Luxor in the south. How Miyazaki's Spirited Away is based on a particular location, and I think this is also very interesting. People, if you're from a certain location, you tend not to bring people to that same location. So from Japan to Taiwan, there's a little bit of a disconnect. So here's Joyfun on the right-hand side. I'm saying it probably incorrectly. It's about a good 1.5 hour bus ride from Taipei, Taiwan, and you end up in the place which is the inspiration for Spirited Away. So again, pretty interesting. And if you look actually a lot of stuff from Spirited Away, I mean, there's a very strong French quality to a lot of the backgrounds in Miyazaki's work. Kung Fu Panda, okay, based in China. And also thinking about time period. So this is based in a time period not like now, where you see places like Shanghai. This is from Mulan, also based in a previous time when they had the Imperial Palace was much stronger. It's not like now with all the city and all the skyscrapers. This is such a really interesting building. So you kind of walk through this, and it's a community inside of this oval. Very interesting. And it reminded me a lot of my trip when I was in Sichuan province towards Tibet, visiting some of these old houses, very, very strong, bold stone buildings, and the hilltops. So another cool one in animation we see is San Fran, Tokyo, I think it's called, and Big Hero 6. So the mashup between two different, more or less countries and cities, and putting them together. So you have this super modern section of the city, along with this very old Japanese with the roofs and the color palettes and how they both work together. So again, very interesting in that same way. You could watch all sorts of Disney movies that kind of come with this, as I'm showing you more examples. So again, here you go with the Golden Gate Bridge you saw previously in my awesome, cool profile pic. When I think MySpace was really huge and Facebook and Instagram haven't even been invented yet. And then we have the temples on the right-hand side. The backdrop for Moana in the Polynesian Islands. We have Mexico in Coco. Cute little film, a small little square. Here is Touch Free. If you haven't had a chance to watch this one, it's one of my short films, and it takes part in a intergalactic airport. Again, it was something I wanted to do in the future because it has to do with motion sensors and a lot of fun stuff. And that's what I did. And I think it really helps to lend the story, make it more believable than without it. So, yeah, it's about 4 minutes long. You have a chance to watch it. It took 1.5 years for me to make. And then you saw this one, Parking Gods. It takes place in a parking lot, pretty straightforward. And I think if it was... Again, maybe if everyone had private planes and he was trying to park his private plane in the hangar, that would be kind of weird, I guess. Or maybe it's a bicycle and he had to park his bike in a bike rack. And, having a car just makes more sense. And having it done in a parking lot like this, supposed to be like Walmart. I just remember living in Phoenix, Arizona, and the parking lots were always full. Here's the setting for Space Junk, 2019 VR experience that I created. It's fun making this. As you can see, I have all sorts of relics. And just imagining a world where the planet no longer exists and then all our relics are out for people or aliens to just go, what was this for? All right, so we have statues of religious figures and other things in here. And a total VR experience. You need a headset, and it was done in 1080. It needs to be in 4K. Here's my Cheetar toy. I really like this guy. He's stuck in Bangkok right now. I can't get him over here. But yeah, to render this took me a good 24 hours on 4 computers. No, that took a lot. Well, actually, took a lot longer. It took me 3 weeks on 4 computers on 1080p. So to make this on 4K would take me more or less 8 times as long. So I would need 4 computers. I would need 32 computers to finish the rendering in 3 weeks. So that's why I never made it in 4K, fortunately. Agihara Forest, famous place, Suicide Forest. That's what it's known for, just on the foothills of, well, not foothills, the foot mountain, Mount Fuji. And I've got to visit it just because of, everyone says everyone goes there to commit suicide. And again, a great place to make a film. So here is the film, and here's some screenshots of it. And so you can watch this online, also on the same YouTube channel. Not this one, it's the other one, Peter Chanthanacone. Forest of Myth, Mystery, and Spirits. So wearing augmented reality goggles, we had an actress go through, and as she was walking through, computer animation would appear. Again, it's a creepy place for sure, but a lot of it's mental. And yeah, it was a good experience. But again, it wouldn't have the same type of effect if we had just used any park. So there you go. In summary, every location tells a story. That being said, you should travel as much as you can, get some stories from these environments that you're seeing. And I don't know why I have this. AR, VR has a future in storytelling. Maybe that's more of a question. But I'll leave it at that. Think about your environments and how they can play part in telling your story. Think about not only is it from this planet, maybe it's a different planet. If it is this planet, what part of the country? Is it this country? Is it another continent? And then, of course, add more confusion. What era is it in? You know, is it the beginning of time? Is it in the future? That's up for you to decide. So, long video. Really sorry. But thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Professor Pete.